On this episode, we talk about black moments, how to get into major publications, and someone who wakes up in the morning feeling like P. Diddy. Apparently. Hey everybody, and welcome to Finish Friday, the show that helps more creative people change more lives. I am your host, Todd B. from Tennessee, and I created this show because on a scale of 1 to catching up with everything you need to before going on vacation, creating things is hard, and finishing your creative stuff is even harder. Man, that's a long intro. I gotta tighten that up a little bit. Here's what's going on in my life. I made this face, so I'm just gonna let you watch that for a few seconds. It makes me really happy. Just look at it. Yeah, so I made that face. This is funny. I made the face and then literally watched it for 5 minutes because I was so apparently pleased with myself. I had an insight this week, you guys. This isn't even the topic. I had an insight that I need my full-time job and some of the videos and the creative work I do to fuel this show and some other stuff. I think we dream a lot of times, the big dream is to kick the full-time job and to go out on our own. But this week I've been reflecting on how much this other work that I do really fuels the show and helps me come up with more stuff for you. So with that, let's get into today's topic. In fiction work, there's something called the black moment. It's the point in the story, and it always happens between 50% and 75% of the way through good stories. And it's when your hero or heroine goes through a deep, dark pit of despair. It's just whenever you think something can't get any worse for the person you're rooting for, guess what? It does. And they have a name for that, and it's called the black moment. But if you'll notice, a lot of times in those stories, your traditionally framed stories, what happens after a character goes through the black moment is they then come out of that to be successful in whatever it is that they're wanting to do. Now, what happens down here? What happens down in the pit? Do they get filled with hope? Do they acquire new skills that they have never gotten before? No, of course not. What happens is when you're down and it is that bad and you can't imagine things getting any worse, all of a sudden, all of these other little obstacles that you thought were a big deal before are no longer a big deal. Got my American flag cup going on today because soon I'm taking probably the most American vacation ever, which is to drive 8 hours down to Florida and park it on a beach for a week. So I felt like that was appropriate right now. This week's question of the week comes from Lewis Chu. You guys can ask a question to the show anytime by emailing Todd at toddbryson.com or putting down a comment below, and I'll try and pull it out and get you on the show. Lewis asks, how did you get syndicated on so many major news outlets? I don't just mean Quora, which is a platform, but Medium as well. Is there an art to pitching that I/most people just don't get? So Lewis, I gotta tell you, I don't know if you guys are gonna like this answer or not, but I have never pitched a major news outlet. Not one time. What's funny is so here's what's happening in the world from my eyes. You have all of these old players in the game. Big publications, Inc. Magazine, Huffington Post, New York Observer, Apple News, which is only not really an old player in the game, but certainly a lot of resources behind it. And I've been featured on all of those platforms. And then you have the kind of the middle ground here, which is the viewers and readers choose what the best stuff is. Okay, at the top level, these people choose. New York Times, Wall Street Journal, all that stuff, they got to decide what was important. And now there are algorithms here at this level on Quora, Medium, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter even now, starting kind of getting their algorithm. And I don't know what we're going to do about Twitter. In any case, what happens is the people elevate this stuff and they choose the cream of the crop. And so it's natural that the bigger publications would kind of cherry pick that stuff off the top because they know it's been tested and they know people are going to read and like enjoy the stuff here. So of course they're going to bring it up and syndicate it. Now for me, what happened was, and a lot of my answers are not sexy, and this one is probably the least sexy, but I became a huge name on Medium. And that's how I got in these publications. The New York Observer like emailed me and said, hey, we love this piece. Can we syndicate it? That's what happens majority of the time with my stuff. And that's what happened on Quora too, is I wrote a breakout hit and on purpose. And it kind of went viral, and that's how I got those accepted into the big publications. And so for me, the tactic is always what Eric Thomas calls the art of becoming. You become the most valuable person you can possibly become on your platform of choice. Because I really do think that stuff is in the eyes of the world, you guys. And so once you get to a place where you can succeed at a high level on your platform of choice and do the kind of work that beats everyone else on the platform, that's how I see it because I'm competitive, but gets you recognized at a level which you may have not been before, that's the point in time when you start getting syndicated. So if it's for me, I would only spend maybe 20% of my time trying to make, if you think you're good at the pitch, I certainly wouldn't shy away from that, but I would spend 80% of my time at least making my work the best that I can possibly make it. This week's artist spotlight goes on Kesha. Kesha is a man, and she made some of my late teens much more enjoyable with her early hits, just feel good kind of music. And to see her coming out now with this new album, some of you already know like the stuff that she's been through. Not only, the unfortunately like common problem of she's an artist who gets owned by a label, and so basically they've just had her stuff on lock for a long time, years, and she's finally coming out on the other side, being able to break out of all of that, and not to mention all the like sexual harassment kind of stuff and other allegations that she's been suffering through. Man, you talk about a black moment. Like that's someone who had, she gets in the business to make art, she hits it big. Can you imagine? Can you imagine to have what you feel like are your dreams and your goals all come true and then go crashing down back to the bottom and having to suffer through that stuff? So I have so much love for Kesha coming through the fire and coming out on the other side better and stronger. So much love to that. That's it for this episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. As usual, this week's Ask the Audience. So you may have noticed, like, I have a few guilty pleasures. I have featured Ariana Grande on the show, and now Kesha. Those are pop music in general is definitely my guilty pleasure, and I want to know, what is your guilty pleasure? Answer the question in the comments down below. Don't forget to thumbs up if you like this show. Again, I am Todd B from Tennessee, and I will see you next week.